Hey everyone, welcome. Glad you could join me and happy Thanksgiving to our American friends. So today we are going to dive into an essential aspect of JSON-LD, which is called node identifiers. So these are crucial for creating effective schema markup that search engines love. Node identifiers in JSON-LD serve as unique tags for entities in your structured data. Think of them as digital name tags that help search engines recognize and connect different pieces of information across your website or even between different websites. The star of the show here is the @ID keyword. The little powerhouse is what we use to assign unique identifiers. As we go through this presentation today, you're going to see just how important the @ID keyword is for creating rich, interconnected, structured data that can boost your SEO efforts. It's one of the things that is often overlooked when I look at multiple iterations of different types of schema templates and even the output from several types of automated creation tools. So let's kind of dig into it. So the @ID keyword. When you're working with JSON-LD, you'll use @ID to give a unique identifier to a node. But what exactly should this identifier be? Well, typically the value of the @ID is an IRI, which stands for Internationalized Resource Identifier. Now, if you're familiar with URIs, which is Uniform Resource Identifiers, IRIs are like their more inclusive cousins, per se. They allow for a broader range of characters, including international characters, which is great for global SEO, but in practice, you'll often see @ID values that look like URLs. For example, https example.com/person/john-doe. This URL format is not just coincidence. It's a best practice that we'll discuss more later. Okay. So I'm going to be sharing some pretty basic examples, as you know, with what we do in our mastermind and how I normally produce schema templates. We go very, very deep, very, very complex. But for the example, I want to keep things very simple just to illustrate the concept. So if we look at this example of how we use @ID in JSON-LD, on the screen you'll see a JSON-LD snippet for a person entity. Okay. So here we've assigned the @ID as example.com/person/123 to this person entity. And this unique identifier distinguishes this particular John Doe from any other John Doe on the web. The @context and @type properties should be familiar to you if you worked with schema markup before. The @ID is our unique identifier, and then we have some properties describing John, his name and job title. This structure allows search engines to understand that this is a distinct entity and potentially link it to other mentions of the same John Doe across your site or even other sites. So it's one way that if you're looking at schema from a node perspective, it's one way that you can connect the dots together and assemble what we call a data set. So let's move on. So the benefits of using @ID for SEO. Now, why should you as SEO marketers care about @ID? Well, it turns out that using @ID effectively can significantly boost your SEO efforts. First, @ID helps search engines understand entity relationships. By consistently using the same @ID for an entity across your site, you're helping search engines connect the dots and build a consistent, more comprehensive understanding of that entity. And second, @ID enables consistent identification across different pages or even different websites. So this is particularly powerful for brands, products, or people that might be mentioned on various sites. And lastly, @ID improves data interoperability and linking. This means that your structured data can more easily connect with other data on the web, potentially improving your visibility and search results. All of these factors contribute to creating a richer, more interconnected web of data that search engines can use to better understand and also rank your content. So when we talk about best practices for @ID values, These tips will help you maximize the SEO benefits of using @ID in your JSON-LD. Now, keep in mind this is a basic iteration, but it's a very important starting point. First, whenever possible, use persistent resolvable URLs for your @ID values. This means using URLs that actually lead somewhere and don't change over time. @ID values should be consistent and something that is more of an anchor so that it's not something that's going to rotate or change frequently. It really should be something that's fairly static. Okay. Second, ensure uniqueness within your domain. So each entity should have its own unique @ID. This helps avoid confusion and maintains the integrity of your structured data. Third, follow a consistent naming convention. This makes your structured data easier to manage and understand. For example, you might use /person/ in the URL for all person entities, /product/ for all product entities, and so on. Now, there's a lot of different iterations and different applications for this, but this is a starting point, right, for the concept. And last, consider using canonical URLs for product pages or article URLs as @ID values. This aligns your structured data with your overall SEO strategy and helps maintain consistency. And consistency in data is very, very important. We often see that with recommendations to have all your citations and NAP data consistent with the GBP and all of that. I believe is relevant with some caveats. But when you are trying to connect the dots and present a cohesive picture to Google and present data in such a way that you want favorable outcomes and determinations from the algorithm, then consistency is very important. Okay, so in this example, let me just go back. In this example, we have a product with its own @ID. Within the product, we've included a brand entity, which also has its own @ID. This structure tells search engines that this specific product is associated with this specific brand. And this type of linking can be incredibly powerful for SEO, as it helps search engines build a more complete picture of your products and their relationships to other entities. And it's the relationships and that data connection and cohesiveness which really allows Schema to shine. So @ID and SEO impact. Let's dive deeper into the SEO impact of using @ID effectively in your structured data. First, proper use of the @ID helps search engines create and enhance their knowledge graphs. By providing unique identifiers and clear relationships between entities, you're giving search engines the building blocks they need to construct a comprehensive understanding of your content and its context. Think information gain and uniqueness. My good friend Russell Wright has just produced something called a Eureka score, which is an amazing way to look at some different types of data relationships and how the algorithm can potentially digest that. So it's very, very important. But second, @ID can improve rich snippet generation. I wonder if you knew that. When search engines can confidently identify and link entities, they're more likely to generate rich snippets for your content in search results. Now, there are some other enhancements and other things that we'll put in to the template to help Google understand that content is ideally consumable for those types of modalities, but that is beyond what we're talking about today. But that can significantly increase your click-through rates. So when we're talking about conversion optimization, that can be something that's very helpful. And lastly, enhancing entity understanding through @ID can boost your performance in voice search and featured snippets, as I've just mentioned, as these become increasingly important in the search landscape, as we have seen. Having clearly identified and linked entities can give you an edge. Remember, in the world of SEO, helping search engines understand your content is key. Using @ID effectively is a powerful way to do just that. So implementing @ID in your schema markup. Now that we understand the importance of @ID, let's talk about how to implement it in your schema markup. Start with your high priority pages. These might include your homepage, product pages, and key article pages, as well as hub pages like your like doorway pages, such as your collection of services and some things like that, as well as any sort of bio pages about the author or founder that could be referenced within other forms of schema throughout your site. These are often the pages that will benefit most from clear entity identification and linking, but use a consistent @ID value across your site. If you mention the same entity on multiple pages, use the same @ID for it each time. This consistently helps search engines build a coherent understanding of your content. And after implementing, always validate your JSON-LD using Google's Rich Results Test tool. This will help you catch any errors and ensure that your structured data is being interpreted correctly. Remember, implementing @ID is not a one-time task. As you add new content or update existing content, make sure to include and maintain appropriate @ID values. Okay, so key takeaways. As we wrap up, let's review key points about @ID and JSON-LD. First and foremost, @ID provides unique identifiers for entities in your structured data. This is the foundation of its power for SEO. It's essential when creating relationships between different pieces of data, both within your site and potentially across different sites. Using @ID effectively can significantly improve your SEO by enhancing search engines' understanding of your content and context. When creating @ID values, aim to use persistent, resolvable URLs wherever possible. This creates the most value for both search engines and potentially for human users. Remember, in the ever-evolving world of SEO, uh, as you've seen the last year especially, structured data is becoming increasingly important. Mastering the use of @ID in your JSON-LD is a powerful way to stay ahead of the curve and maximize your search visibility. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks again for being part of the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments if that was helpful, if it's something more you'd like me to cover. I've got much more coming, so stay tuned. Cheers. Thank you very much.